Anyway, let's get on to some listener questions because we've actually got a bunch. I'll go to uh, the ones on Instagram first. And the first comment is from Brent Swanson, who obviously just competed. He says, much love for Stu, top notch guy. Never cut the hair, brother. It's your trademark.
Wait, was that Brent?
Yeah,
Was
Brent
that?
Swanson.
Oh, dude, he's the best.
Man, he looks like an action figure.
Yeah,
Have you
he
noticed? Like when he
poses like one
smiles?
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so over the top, dude. But he's the sweetest guy ever. He's a PE
Yeah, he
teacher.
seems like it.
You know that?
Oh, is he
He's,
really? How cool would he be as a PE teacher? I'd go back to school for that.
dude, I started lifting weights.
Yeah, all his students are just jacked. Um, Next one's from Marius Powell 15 says advice for 16-year-olds wanting to be a bodybuilder. I'll go to you first, Marty. We've got some young guys here as well, so yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Eat as much as you can. Mom and dad are paying for your groceries.
Take advantage of bulk.
Yeah. Train your ass off and like just start to educate yourself as much as you can, watch as many videos, cross-check things, read. If you want to be a really good bodybuilder, you have to be really smart, to be honest. All the guys at the top are very, very intelligent or have someone in their corner that's very intelligent. But do that. And like I said, eat as much as you can. Mom and dad are paying for the groceries. When I was in high school, I literally drank a gallon of milk a day and ate as much food as I possibly could because I knew mom and dad were paying the grocery bills. And it worked out for me. I graduated high school over 200 pounds and continued to grow into being a bodybuilder into college. So
Beefcake. All right, Stu, what about you, man? Because you're obviously not too far removed from being a young bodybuilder.
I'm not. Yeah, Marty, were you still doing track in college? Were you like on
yeah,
the team at college? Okay.
yeah. I
Okay.
competed for like 2.5 years in track, still in
Okay.
college.
And then you just went full bore after that.
Yeah, then I just said
With
fuck it. Went into pharmacy school and being a bodybuilder, and then I quit pharmacy school after like a year and a half.
I like how
pharmacy
you said I
school
went
and
into pharmacy
bodybuilding.
school being a bodybuilder.
Yeah, interesting overlap there. Anyways, yeah, I mean, if you don't have like if you're young and you don't have like a background in sports, I think it's really important to like learn like the basic movement patterns. Like
Yeah,
how do you squat? How do you deadlift? Like how do you move your body through space? Because like if you see somebody who's like 25, 30 who just started working out with weights and they didn't play sports when they were a kid, they look like a newborn calf. They don't know how to move themselves. Uh, like with weight on their back or even without weight. So like get your movement patterns down and then just like get really fucking strong at it without using shitty form, of course, but um, and eat a bunch. You're not gonna be. It's not gonna be pretty at first. Like the first time I got heavy, like bulked properly, bro, it was disgusting. Like I was like chugging chocolate milk and like, I mean, it worked. I got really strong. I got really big, but like, don't worry about being pretty for the first little while because you'll just end up yo-yoing and not making any progress. If you're switching from bulking to cutting every month or two, like you're wasting your time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to
absolutely.
add to that. Stu brought it up, but like, yeah, if you're 16 years old and you're not playing sports, get your ass in some sports.
Mm.
For
It's gonna
real.
be such a good baseline for you.
Yeah, for everything, like even discipline and shit later on in your life outside of this.
Yeah.
Stan, what about you? What's your advice for a 16-year-old just getting into bodybuilding?
Yeah, I think they both summed it up. Like everything, they don't really have anything to add. Just learn as much as possible. Commit to the process. Like Stu was saying, don't oh, I'm too fat, need to cut. Just like embrace it. Like the first 2 3 years, you're not gonna be shredded, man. If you want to be big enough in like a certain amount of size, like a decent amount of size, and yeah, it's just gonna be a long journey. So enjoy it.
I mean, the best advice would probably be to like pick a sport that actually pays you to be good at it. But
Yeah,
barring that,
like do baseball or football, not this.
Yeah.
yeah, something somebody cares about.
It's funny how like deranged your mind can be towards bodybuilding when you're younger. Like I always used to think, I'm like, if someone gave me $1 million a year every year of my life to not do bodybuilding, I don't think I'd do it. And now I'm like, hell yeah, I'd take that money. Like I'm never competing again. Like you wouldn't care whatsoever. But I understand the mind of a younger person because I think about how I was at those younger ages. Like you would consider quitting a job just because you can get your meals in better. You know what I mean? Like you would sort of have that really insane mentality. And I'll say like one thing from someone who has the worst genetics out of all four of us, quite clearly. But well, like it's pretty obvious. But like when I was like 16, 17, I know it was when I was 17 after I first competed, I like I was like, I'm gonna do a dirty bulk. You know, that was sort of the thing back then because I'm like 33 now, so however many years ago that was, the knowledge was a little less. So it was like dirty bulk, cool. It's like one of my meals was half a pizza, you know, every night with 4 slices of toast with peanut butter, and then it was like 2 scoops of protein powder, and that was like one of my 7 meals. Like I was going insane, and I actually messed up the amount of carbs I was having as well. So I was just taking a cup of raw rice, and I thought that was 100 grams raw, but it was 180 grams raw. So I was doing that for 3 meals of my day, which is 180 grams of raw of rice, which is like what, like 140, 150 grams of carbs. And I was forcing that shit down. And when you think that's only 80 grams of carbs and you're only eating 70 of it or so because you're struggling to get it down, you still just push it down. So I was like, I put on, I went from competing at 70 or 69 or 70 kilograms, which times by 2.2, then, you know, that's your pounds.
Like
but then I
150?
went up to that off season to 101. So I put on 32 kilograms in, I think it was 32 weeks or something. So 2.2 pounds a week on average. You know, it was 10 kilos in my first week or whatever because I just went ballistic. And I got stretch marks and all that sort of shit. I've still got them all over the backs of my legs from that one experience where I'm like, dirty bulk. And I would be so dedicated at that age that I would force myself. And I remember dry heaving my meals up and going, and be like, more, wash it down more. So it's, I would advise anyone against putting on 65 to 70 pounds in 30 something weeks.
You should commitments, you know, you should commitment and consistency. You've done it, you know, days after days, no matter what.
Yeah, I put on muscle. I competed like 10 pounds heavier the next year, but I was like slightly off as well because I had to come down so fucking far. But it was
that's impressive though. Like forcing that's a lot of food.
Yeah,
I'd never do it now. I'd never have the dedication to do that now. No way.
But that's one thing though. Like with what I know now and looking back, if I had an advice to give, I would say like, don't force feed yourself. Like it's just gonna lead to bigger issues down the road. Like work your appetite. You want a body to be hungry to really absorb the food, and yeah, don't force feeding. Like, you know, pushing a little bit, you know, feeling full after you meal is one thing, but like really force feeding, like we've been through, like I think all 4 of us have tried. That's I don't think that's necessary. I think it's counterproductive for in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it's like forcing to a point, you know what I mean? Like where you can, not to the point where it could, like that extra little bit could give you some sort of gut issues, could cause you like reflux.
Oh yeah, so many people like destroy their gut health, and it took them years to go back. And if you can't eat, you're not going to be able to sustain any size anyway. So if you ruin that, you can say goodbye to bodybuilding.
Yeah. So Marius Powell 15 got some good advice there. So Big W8 says, who has been the freakiest bodybuilder you've seen in person? Who is the strongest person you've met? So Marty, who's the freakiest bodybuilder you've seen and the strongest person?
Shit. The freakiest bodybuilder I've seen in person was Phil at his full blown. Like, I watched him guest pose 3 weeks after the Olympia when he won in 2016, and he looked so fucking wild. Like, it was the most insane thing. Like, it, not conditioning wise and stuff, but like just the most full blown roundest fucking balloon animal looking fucking thing you've ever seen, dude. It was so insane because he's probably up like 20 pounds from the Olympia too. Just, he looked bonkers. And the strongest, either James Hollingshead or JP.
Yeah, they're the strong cell. Obviously, like JP sort of helps out James, so
yeah,
it makes sense from the same milk. What about you, Stu?
Freakiest, probably. either Kamal, because Kamal's a weird answer, right? But like his skin is so thin, like in person, like it doesn't come across in pictures. But he's got like, he's like 50 years old, right? It's just
He's like 50 more now. Yeah, 50 something.
Ooh,
yeah,
So,
and like at that age, like I don't know, something happens and like it just looks like cellophane on his abs. In Tampa when he was competing there, I was really weird about it. I was like, I asked him if I could like pinch the skin on his abs, and it was crazy, dude. It was like there's nothing there. I guess the other guy, I saw Ramy at Bev's when I was over in New York, and like I've never seen anybody that wide before. Like he had to just like turn sideways to get in between machines and stuff. You ever like, how like a ship, like a sail ship or a sailing boat has like a mast. It's like he's the mast. Like it's so wide that like when he turns, it's like a billboard. Like just moving.
can't like duck his shoulders in and go like this. He's just always just like.
Yeah, you can't even like shrink it. It's just too wide. So
that's like Jay. The freakiest. Oh, sorry, the strongest. You go your strongest next.
Yeah, I used to train with this powerlifter guy up in Oregon called Zach Smith, and he's got like a 900 something, I think a 910-pound squat. He's like a super heavyweight guy, nicest guy ever too. But yeah, I gotta say him probably.
That's wild. I'd probably say I'll get to you, Stan, but just remind me when you said like Big Ramy being so wide. When I saw Jay Cutler, because I competed, this is back in 2007. Yeah, 2007. When Jay won the Olympia, I think it was against Victor, and a lot of people said he shouldn't have won. So he came out to Australia after that. So it was sort of weird. It was like, congratulations on the Olympia, but you could tell Jay was sort of like, it was like that affected him, that everyone thought or a lot of people thought he should have lost that Olympia. So he said that was probably his worst Olympia, I think, in terms of like how he felt after it. But so that was quite interesting. But seeing that dude backstage, he walked past me. So I was just in like one of the rooms off the main hallway, and he walked past me, and I turned around, and because he was so big, and he's just like got that, he's sort of, he always used to guest pose like a little bit orange, like his tan. So he just walked past me, and I thought to myself for a second, like I glanced, I was like, who's that fat dude? Like, because it was just so big. I'm like, that can't be someone's shoulders. Like and he's like 3-4 inches shorter than me, so I'm sort of looking like this, and I just glance, I'm like, what the? And my second looked at, I just look at Jay walking up this hallway and from the back, and I'm like, that dude is so much wider than you can actually tell in photos. It was like you just can't appreciate it until you see that in person. And I was just like, it doesn't, just this muscle just like on top of his super wide frame just looked so crazy. So he's the freakiest I've probably seen in person. I've seen Ronnie pose as well, but this was after Ronnie actually lost the Olympia, like 1 year after. So not as crazy, and I have no idea who my strongest is. Probably like there's two brothers down in Tasmania, Sean and Wayne Howlett. They own some gyms. They were sort of like the freakiest strongest because they didn't train powerlifting specific back then. They just trained like bodybuilders, and the weights they were lifting were insane. They probably train on another level. Like I would go in there on a Saturday into their gym. Like he'd have like 2 burst blood vessels in this eye and 1 in this eye, and I'm like, oh, did you get in a fight? And I was like, nah, squatting last night. I'm like, okay. So yeah, they were the strongest, and they just scream at each other and train like 2 brothers. It was pretty cool to see that. But what about you, Stan? Who's the freakiest and who's the strongest?
Freakiest, I would have 3 different ones. Obviously, Sean Roden, 2018. I mean,
yeah, incredible.
Yeah, and up close and personal, it's even like, it's more insane. I mean, you can even, it's just another level. Jay 2013, I saw him like 6 weeks out from 2013, no, 2010, from his last title. I saw him 6 weeks out from the Olympia, and just the width, that was like you say, just like a wall walking. Like it's crazy. Yeah. And the third person, it was Nathan Diasha. Like when he won the Cali Pro, we were in the gym like on Friday night, and then was manager Matt, and he was doing some training, some posing, and then the next day when he was like backstage, pumping up, like the roundness, like he volumized so much that I never saw anything like that. Like just how round he became, it was just crazy. It was just something that just impressed me at the time. That was it was pretty shocking.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to
What's your
next question.
strongest, Stan?
But
Oh, yeah,
what?
strongest.
Strongest?
I don't know. Andrew Jack is pretty fucking strong.
Is he?
Is it?
Yeah, he's really strong. Now he's learning how to actually train like a bodybuilder, and so not using his strength as much, but just the muscle. But yeah, I mean, I don't know the strongest that I've seen in person. There was a guy at Gold Gym. His name is he's a pro bodybuilder actually. Douglas Freshie. He's pretty strong.
Yep.
He was
Oh yeah.
pushing some good big weight with Michael Hearn, and yeah.
Oh, nice. All right, next question is from Nathan Demonico. Says, for off season, do you prefer Sustanon or Test-D? So anyone can answer it. If you don't want to answer it, sweet. Marty, what about you? Sustanon or Test-D?
I mean, it just kind of depends on what you're doing and what other compounds you're running with it, honestly. I like the way I feel on Sustanon better than E, but if I was running another compound that was a little bit longer acting, I'd probably run E because I hate stabbing myself.
Yeah.
So it just really kind of depends on, how you want to do with that. Sustanon you're going to have to do more often. Like, I don't like pinning myself, but I do think frequency of pinning is better for pushing. So, I mean, in a push, probably run something along those lines, Sustanon.
And this is obviously, just so we can disclaimer, educational purposes only, and this is our opinions. But with obviously Sustanon, you mentioned obviously how, you have to pin more. How obviously it's got the test propionate there, which normally has like, I think, what is it, like a 48-hour half-life or somewhere around there. So that's why most people will shoot that every second day, or some people every day as well. So you're not getting the peaks and valleys. And really with all the peaks and valleys with people taking, stuff, I find that people that allow those peaks and valleys where they will shoot less frequently, use quicker acting compounds and not shoot them enough, they tend to have more of those side effects like the acne and all those sorts of things, the mood changes. And I think it's just so much healthier for guys that if they keep a very steady amount levels of stuff and not, doing crazy things and just, I think forgetting shots is probably a big thing. Like someone won't shoot anything for 10 days and they're like, oh, I better get back on it, and doing it every second day. It's like, that's when guys start to fluctuate in water. And, because obviously if it's almost like you're coming off, your level will dip down a bit, your estrogen will probably compensate, it comes up, hold more fluid, then you're obviously having more androgens again, you probably hold more fluid again. So that's where I think the water will go up and down, blood pressure goes up and down, and just more side effects if you're letting those peaks and valleys get in there. But Stu, what about you, if you want to answer that?
I've never actually used Sustanon before. I've only ever used Inventate and Probe. But sometimes if I'm in like an off season, or actually in prep, I'll start off prep with just Inventate in there, and then at some point we'll add in Probe on top of it, and then eventually pull out the Inventate, just so that like any manipulations to that like shorter ester drug, you can kind of see move quicker. So if you drop your dose down in half, you'll see a change in like, maybe a few days instead of like a week and a half if you were using Probe versus Inventate,
That
makes
makes a lot of sense, man.
But
because when people switch, because a lot of people take Test-D or Sustanon or whatever, a lot of time Test-D, and then they'll switch to Probe at some point in their prep because they want the faster acting compound. And then, obviously like some people do that because of fluid. I think people can probably keep it in there, and if they are taking a diuretic, it will probably take care of most of that water, but still people just do it to be safe as well. But when making that change, obviously people don't think about the actual release time of these things as much, because people will be taking, I suppose, that Test-D for a period of time, which has I suppose like a longer half-life. And then they switch instantly to Test Probe, and they start that from 2 days after their last shot of Test-D. So obviously when they add that Test Probe in to start with, they've still got a considerable amount of Test-D, so we're going to get a pretty decent peak. So it's going to be going along like this on Test-D, then finish Test-D, add the Probe, it's going to go like this, and then it's probably going to come back down to normal levels. So like you said, what you do, Stu, I think that's like a pretty smart way to do it, to keep your levels pretty balanced. Marty, do you or Stan buy into that at all? Like changing that up a little bit?
Well, I don't really run probes that much. I did it this last year, and I did that same thing. I ran Sustanon and Probe stacked, and then pulled the Sustanon. And then I pull my test like 14 days out, which most people don't do because they'll go flat as shit. But it just makes me get drier and harder. So.
Yeah,
Dude,
sure.
I actually noticed because I dropped my pro at like a week out from New York, and then I kept it out all the way through California as well. Like that second week between New York and California, I know there's a lot of factors at play here. Like the only injectable I still had in was Trenace, and I just woke up every morning like way drier than the week previous. I think I'm probably gonna try and drop in at like 2 or 3 weeks out next year. You probably feel like shit, but like,
for sure.
yeah, it's gonna be terrible. But like, it definitely helped my look. I think if that's what was going on there.
Yeah,
so.
no, it's that. I mean, from everything and every peak that I've done, I've watched it, I've taken notes. It definitely makes a difference, at least on my physique.
Yeah, and I wasn't flat. Like I wasn't flat in California.
Yeah, some people when
eat a little more.
when they lose that, they just completely like start to lose their thought. But it just kind of depends on the physique.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Stan, what about you? Do you have a preference over the two?
Not really. Kind of like Martin. Like depends what I'm stacking it with, but I do transition. Like I switch. I don't go progressively from the slower ester to the fast one. I just make the switch, and yeah, for a few days you might go up, and then it's gonna stabilize, and then it's gonna end up where it's at, level up. But so you stopped the test because you said you do the test and ansate, Marty. You stopped that at 2 weeks out.
I did Sustanon and then to P, and then I switched to P. But yeah, I stopped like 2 weeks out, 14 days.
So you did the propionate at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, like, if you stop and don't take 2 weeks out.
Yeah, no, I would still push into the.
Yeah.
No. When I stop it, it's probably like out of my system 12 days out.
Okay.
Anyway, Stu, I forgot to ask you about Cali because I thought we actually talked after Cali, but I think it was actually before we did all our interviews before that. I just want to quickly, in the middle of the listener questions, man, I want to ask you about that because obviously completely different lighting at both shows as well. And some people said, oh, I think maybe Stu was a little bit better at New York. Some people said, oh, he's actually fuller in Cali. What's your assessment? Because obviously you're one looking in the mirror and you're obviously going back and forth with your coach in normal check-in pictures. What do you think was better? What do you think the difference was between New York and Cali, and how did you feel about the show? Because obviously you went from second to third against a very good Ross and a very good Tonio, but you went to fourth. Sorry, you went to fourth. Yeah, which, I think that top four, like when I was doing the live stream and everyone came out, I was like, oh my god! I'm like, you got Tonio this. I'm like, geez, Ross is pretty hard. I was like, Stu looks bigger from the back. Like your back. This is the one thing I want to say by the live stream. Your back looked different. Like when you hit a back double, it just seemed to be like grainier, popping more, like it just looked denser or something at the Cali. I'll say that's one thing on your physique, but I was like, whoa, like your back double and everything looked very improved. So I definitely thought you could have been higher for sure, but wasn't there. It's very hard to judge. How did you feel about your placing fourth, first of all, and also how did you feel about the different packages?
Well, obviously the IFBB has never made a bad judging call ever, so fourth is exactly where I deserve. Maybe you should cut that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with like I think I was a little bit drier in California. I think I was a little full. I was using a different scale, so it's kind of hard to say. It might be calibrated differently, but I was a couple pounds heavier in California, so. I mean, I think you can probably just chalk it up to like, it's another week prep. It's another week with the drugs in play, doing their thing, making you look the way that they make you look. But yeah, I think like the morning of, or like the night before, like Friday night, I was a little drier than I was last Friday night, last week. And then I woke up a little bit better the morning of. So, I mean, I'm happy with. I think the New York pictures looked better. Like the lighting was a little more flattering, and my tan looked like shit by the end of prejudging. But in California, I looked a little green.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that's from necessarily. I think a red shirt. I don't think so. No.
So
No.
if you have anything red, don't ever wear it with a tan. This is advice to all the followers too. Some of the tan has an activator in it that with the red dye, sometimes it will just kick out and make your tan really, really green. Like I've seen people turn into
Really?
like the Hulk from wearing a red t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
So
There's
just something to note.
Yeah,
I've
the
never heard of that.
high pH water can also make you turn green. You change the pH of your skin and make your tan turn green.
Wow.
So if you
I had
drink,
no
like,
idea about these things. Were you using high
Well,
pH water? Stu?
Yeah, I was using dirty California
water.
river water.
if you take some alkaline water and it's like higher pH than you used to, you know, that happens.
Do you mean drinking it or showering in it?
No, drinking alkaline
Yeah.
water.
Oh,
You can
drinking
buy it
it.
at the store. So maybe you buy some stores and pay attention to alkaline water, and boom, you turn a little green. They can
Wow.
fix it if you catch it too. They have like some spray that return, like we give the required color to the tan.
It's weird because like I think the coverage and like the color before I got on stage looked better here, but
So maybe it's the light.
I think it might have been the light. Yeah. What was that?
Who did you use? Because Protan won't turn green. So don't just start using.
Yeah, in California was Liquid Sun Rays. New York was Protan.
Yeah, I'm a Protan athlete, so I'm just gonna tell you now, Protan's better.
I've had good experiences with them in the past. Yeah.
So this is what I mean, Stu. Like I just wanted to point out this back shot, man. Like that's just like everything just looked that bit more dense in the back double here. I don't know. Do you see that?
Yeah, I've got a weird looking back. Like I've got a lot of meat right up my spine, and then my teres like right under my armpit are not really like a big part of the pose. So there's a bunch of like lines and striations going right up my spine, but like I don't have everything split apart and separated. Like if you look at Tonio or Ross, you can see their lats, you can see their traps. Mine just kind of looks like a pile of meat, which I think is cool, but like
looks like a beef stew.
Exactly, yeah, just a bit of everything everywhere. I understand why that's not going to get judged as favorably as like these other guys here. So I definitely need to get more width, like under my armpits, and more in my lats, and that'll help me there. But
just that little bit more there, and then that pose is like complete. You know what I mean? Or like I mean, it's complete now, but we'll just go to that sort of next level. I suppose that's how you improve that pose, I guess.
Yeah, but in these lineups, like in New York and California, I thought I was going to get whipped from the back, but I think I measured up pretty well because Tonio's got a really good back. But I'm big enough standing next to him that it like kind of makes up for it. I don't think I necessarily beat him in those poses, but I hold my own. So
I think right here you look the best, like in that shot for sure. Like you can see you're packed with muscle, man. So you brought good conditioning this year. I think it's just about getting that little bit more polish. And I think this show was sort of so close throughout the top four that I think you could have judged it 4 different ways and people would have been happy. So it's like if you add that little bit extra in shows like this, you should be, I won't say walking into and winning, but being the favorite going into these shows and the rightful favorite,
Yeah, well, if you look at yourself and you're like, there's obvious things to nitpick and gaps in your physique, like, yeah, you got more work to do, so
yeah,
I got more work to do. I'll be back in a year.
Good. Love it, man. What were you going to say, Marty?
Stu, you're the same age as me, right, Stu? 26?
Dude, I think I might be like a week older than you. When's your birthday?
January 6th.
97?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're 4 days older than me.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, so, like, I mean, part of it's just, we just haven't hit our muscle maturity, man. Like,
yeah.
We're going to get, like, a lot gnarlier and a lot harder and a lot grainier here real soon.
So we're January 4, 10, and 12.
No shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Good month.
August. So different.
Boo.
Worst genetics and just completely just another thing that differentiates me from all three of you guys. But Stu, I wanted to say one thing, man. The smiling, you mentioned that in the thing recently, and you said Steve Weinberger says we don't judge that. I want to say one thing about smiling when you're posing, because I want to actually go to your page. Because obviously, like, some people mention that, like, here. But then you see
there's certain
this.
poses I smile in, and some I forget to.
Yeah, the two front first poses, the front double and the front lat, you generally don't smile. But man, I think this looks good. Like, it doesn't even need to be a smile, just a not an egregious, like, wincing face. Like, that looks good. Like, I think that sort of look. But I agree. Like, the smiling isn't what obviously should be really judged. But if you had two guys equal completely, and you've got one guy that's, I suppose it's like how much you pose with, like, sort of like vigor as well, because we heard it with Sean Roden, Stan, obviously, like, Sean, everyone was saying Sean's too chilled on stage. He would sort of be so smooth. And you're watching his posing and you're going, he's doing everything right. Like, everything he was doing was spot on. He would go down and then go up and he'd just sort of hit it, but he wouldn't go like bang and hit the poses and sort of grab the attention. And that's like one thing I think that if you got one guy that's on stage that's not smiling or doesn't look happy to be there in a way, and then you've got another guy that's like hitting the poses hard, smiling, like really into it, your eyes are naturally going to be drawn to the other guy, and that could be the differentiating factor. Because I know when I've like test judge shows, I've been there and I'm like, oh, like this one's close. Then you got someone really working for it, and it feels like they're working for it. It's like you can tell they want it, and it's like, I wonder if that subconsciously does anything to you as a judge that maybe changes your perspective. Like, I'll get your opinion, Marty. What do you think?
Well, I'll say this: Steve doesn't judge that, but I'm gonna tell you what. There's a couple other judges out there that they definitely care, because they've came after my rookie season. They came to me and said, like, "Hey, Marty, we want to see you smile. We want to see you happy to be on stage." And I made a big change with that last year, and they all came to me and said, like, "Hey, Marty, we noticed. We're happy to see that you're happy to be up there." But it's tough, man. Like, posing's hard, right? Like, you're not like, in comparisons, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. Like, grit your teeth and get pissed, and who cares? But like, when you go to put on a show, like, smile, because it's for the crowd. Like, they want you to be happy. They want you to be like chipper. Like, or like,
all right, Marty, I'll do it for you.
Or they want you to have the like, you could be like Mike Mazzarato too, and like give them the, like, put on a freaking Wiley face if you want.
Yeah, that'd look cool with the hair, man. That'd look cool.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. Poke the tongue out next time. You have to do it.
Mike would love to do that shit, dude.
It worked for him.
Yeah. No,
and he's sort of known for it too.
Yeah.
That's cool. I can't remember what we were just talking about smiling and stuff, but I'm definitely going to like use one of those face apps and find one of them. I never really do like the face changing things and stuff, but I'm definitely going to put a massive smile on your face, Stu, on the thumbnail.
Bastard. Okay.
You have no choice. It's going to look weird too, real weird. Anyway, I don't know how. Oh yeah, we was just touching on obviously the Cali Pro, but Stu, which one was better, New York or Cali? Like, if you had to gun to your head.
I think I look better in Cali. I may have looked better in the pictures, but I'm happy with my look in Cali. So
yep, fair. We'll do one or two more questions. ARF Culture on Instagram says, advice on going to my first national show, NPC Universe. I'll jump in first quickly, and I'll say the first time doing like a national show where you think you can contend, because I did one when I was younger, like that one when I saw a Jay Cutler when I was a teenager. I was up against two guys on gear and I was natural and I was 17, so that was rough. Real rough. But and one of them, like, well, actually they were both freaks, so very out of place. But going to a national event when I did that classic physique show, you can go to national events, and because the level of competition's higher, the lineup was like 13, 14 guys, which maybe isn't a lot these days, but that was a lot back then. And I'm looking around, I'm like, that guy's bigger than me, that guy's more shredded than me, this guy's got better legs than me, and you sort of look around and you're like, be happy to be in the top half. You know, I psyched myself out completely. And then they called me out on stage, and they actually messed up initially and didn't put me in the first call out of 7 guys. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm in the bottom 4 or 5 or whatever. I'm just like, oh, I've cooked it. I'm just like, I'm terrible. And you start to beat yourself up. And then I see them pointing to this other guy and be like, oh no, he's meant to be in there. And then I end up winning it. But looking at the whole group of guys, you can psych yourself out big time, and that can lose a lot of guys' confidence on stage. So it was like, for me, I was sort of lucky I got left out of that first call out at the start, because when I got in there, they pulled me straight into the middle. I was like, oh, it's fucking go time, and I was excited. But had I just been in the first call out of like 7 guys, I still probably would have been doubting myself a bit based on what I was looking at backstage and how everyone was. So I'd say the first thing is don't psych yourself out, because even though there'll be guys there with better things than you, either conditioning, size, certain body parts, it's the sum of the whole thing. So, and that's what it was. I was the most balanced, I guess, overall. My conditioning wasn't the best. My size wasn't the best. My shape was probably one of the best. But then it's judged on a whole. So that's my bit of advice. But Marty, how about you? What's your advice to someone doing their first national level show?
Well, you already signed up, so I hope you're ready.
You signed
my
out, man.
to everybody else that isn't signed up for a national show is make sure you're ready to do a national show. Make sure you've won some overalls, you've kicked some ass at the local level, and really like fine-tune the physique. I know when I was young, I won my first show, and I asked Jay Cutler, like, should I go and do a national show right off the bat? And Jay was like, no, take a year off, come back, win the whole overall. Then after you do that, then you can go do a junior show. And when you win the overall at a junior show, then you can go do a national show, and you'll probably be ready to win a pro card around then. That's kind of the old-fashioned way. That's definitely the bodybuilder way, because you can win a pro card at these junior shows and stuff now in classic physique and stuff. But again, like the biggest advice here is like it's a marathon, not a sprint. So like you can go do this national show and win a pro card, but like, are you going to be pro ready? Are you going to be able to compete with pros, or are you going to be a pro that gets fucking stomped when you get there? You know, like all of us, Stan was ready to kick ass in men's physique right off the bat when he went pro. You know, both Stu and I, we came into the pro ranks and were able to like swing punches at a first call out, you know? So like we were ready to be professional athletes. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is just be able to look in the mirror and say like, am I ready to be a professional? Otherwise, don't waste your money on going to a national show. Put the money into the off season, eating the food, taking the time, becoming a better bodybuilder to then be a good pro when you get there.
Yeah. I was sorry, Stan. I just saw your photos that you sent to
me. Very, very slick.
Marty, I was trying so hard not to just piss myself laughing while you were talking, man. I didn't want you to be laughing at what you were saying, but just, I don't know, I just got that, and I don't know, just got me good.
I can't wear a suit that good, man. Fuck.
Yeah. And then I thought this was you, Stan, but this wasn't you, but I like that too.
No,
baseball. I'm sure you. No, you got like a Jordan singlet on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. Oh man, that made me laugh as soon as I saw it. So I'm like, I thought maybe you sent a message saying like, man, I got to go, I'm dying or something, and it was like 30 something minutes ago. I was like, oh shit. I might get too polite to say something. We'll do one more question, man, then we'll wrap this thing up. Because I know obviously Stan, you're prepping, and Stu, you're sick, and
with the first national show thing.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, my bad.
Yeah, I'd say like, I mean, unless you're like, you know, something crazy special, like you're probably going to be like competing with these guys frequently, you know, for the next few years trying to get a pro card, right? So you're going to see them around. I'd like chat with them backstage. Like, don't be all weird and cagey. Like, these guys are doing the same shit as you. You know, make friends. And like, you know, I'm still friends with a lot of the guys that I met at the USA's. I talk to them frequently, and because they're all, you know, doing the same thing as I am. Doesn't really matter what stage you're on. They're cool dudes. So yeah, I'd play nice and like try to be cool with everybody.
Dude, that's actually a killer bit of advice, because that contest I actually did. The fondest memories I have of that contest is that I was talking to 2 guys backstage that we sort of talked online. We were sort of, you know, friendly with and stuff, that were competing from other parts of Australia. So I normally wouldn't see these guys ever in person. And we were chatting backstage, hanging out, and we're like, oh, imagine if we all made top three. And us three out of 13 guys, we were the top three. And it was the sickest experience because it was like they called us and we had to go to the side of the stage. We was there for like 15 minutes pumping up still. And just those memories and getting the photos once we got off stage, that whole like probably 1.5 hours is some of the most memorable times of my life because we had a fun time. And then a few of my other mates won other divisions. Aaron Pilates, who's top 10 in the Olympia, that was his first, it was his first or second show ever. And it was like that's his first contest season. He won. I only interviewed him once or twice before that, and we're posing together backstage. And it's like those memories, it's like I could have been the guy sitting backstage not talking to anyone, and I would have none of that. But I was, I decided to be, enjoy it, have fun with it no matter what. And now I've got those memories for the rest of my life. So yeah, that's a killer bit of advice, man. Stan, what about you?
No, I have great memories too from that. But another thing, yeah, is like if you're planning on getting your pro card, don't wait to have your pro card to start acting like a pro. Like treat everything like like it's your job. Like I'm not saying like you need to enjoy what you're doing. That doesn't mean like treat it like a job and don't have fun. Like enjoy what you're doing for sure, but like be serious about it. Like it's time to go to bed. It's time for your meals, your day off. Everything has to be serious.
Yeah, no, well said, man. And I'll just go to one more question. And the last one, EP09 says, what's the hardest part about being a content creator? Which obviously, like I do it very direct through YouTube, but you guys, especially you, Marty, lately as well, you guys all do it because you have to put out some sort of content at some point, like in Stu, you're like more just getting into it. But Stan, I'll go to you because you do it through IG and YouTube as well. What's the hardest part for you about being, I suppose, a content creator, which is a disgusting sort of term, but
I mean, the hardest part, to be honest, is that us as pro bodybuilders, we diet, and like it's that's gonna define our energy level as far like off season when you're lethargic from eating a lot of food, or when you're dieting and you're just dying because you have no energy. Like you still have to put that content, and you're fighting against people that's all they do is just creating content, and they have the energy for it. They stay in shape all year round. So that's the hardest part. I think as a bodybuilder is to be able to keep up with the quality of the content against people who are not doing all the things we have to do to get on stage, and that takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, for sure. And I got to imagine it's like, yeah, off season you're not as motivated to put out stuff because you're not looking as sharp as like when you're pre-contest. It's a lot easier. You can pull up your shirt, take a photo in the mirror, and you're like, yeah, that's some content, you know what I mean, and say like whatever. But like doing it, off season, it's like, oh, I've got to make sure I don't look too fucking fat. Not that you guys get back blown out anyway. It's not probably as motivating to actually put it up. And like I said, you're lethargic from eating so much and all that. But Marty, what about you?
Man, I don't know. I've put a ton of effort into this year, so it's been definitely different for me. For me, for probably the first 3 years of me being a pro, or 2 years of me being a pro, I wasn't so sure that I could be a good bodybuilder and make content constant. Kind of felt like I needed to be Dorian Yates and lock myself in a box. And that worked for me, don't get me wrong. I had a lot of success. But if you want to make a lot of money, you're going to have to learn how to do both. So in the last year, that's been a big effort of mine. Instagram has become fairly easy for me because now I kind of have found my niche, and these reels are cranking for me, and I like doing them. And I don't feel pressure to like have to film in the gym, and I don't feel pressure to have to show my physique when I don't want to, because I kind of like the wow surprise factor of not having to show my physique and then coming out and being like, holy shit, like we haven't seen him for 3 months and all of a sudden he's made huge changes. I really enjoy that. So finding my niche was huge for me. I think that was probably the hardest part. Now that I kind of have found my groove, it's just finding the time. Like, I really want to get back to YouTube, like Stan said, but like, yeah, man, editing videos that are training and stuff, like this is pretty easy because it's just us talking, and like really like you just have to cut out some like bullshit that's just dumb or like isn't worth putting into the podcast. But like when it comes to like training videos and stuff, there's just so much editing, and then you have to put the music to it, and you don't want it to be boring. Otherwise, retention time goes down. So I think that that's pretty tough in finding your groove or finding somebody that you can vibe with.
Do you edit your video?
So I don't edit my reels, but I edited most of my YouTube. If I didn't, Ariel did it.
Holy shit! Good job, man.
Yeah, bro.
I had no idea.
That was a lot of effort put into those.
Yeah, I bet.
And but this, like, it's worth it, honestly. And there's money to be made there. That's why these, like Stan said, these other guys, I mean, it's hard to keep up with them because they know there's money to be made there, and they're putting all their effort into it. They're not trying to be pro bodybuilders as well. But if, like I said, whether it's hard or not, if you want to make money in this sport, you better get on it.
Yeah, and you can obviously, if you have that a little bit of spare money left over on the side, you can always pay someone to edit your videos too. It's just a matter of finding someone. This is the hardest thing I find, is finding someone who would be reliable enough that isn't crazy expensive. You know, because if you're always spending more than you're making, at a certain point, if you're breaking even, like on what you get YouTube revenue wise to what you're paying an editor, it's still more beneficial, because still if 20,000 people or 25,000 or 50,000 people are seeing that video, you're getting more exposure. It looks better to a sponsor. You can wear your sponsor's gear in there, and you can sell that as part of you being an athlete as well. But if you're making $100 losses, $200 losses every time because the video editing's too expensive, and maybe they're too slow, they take 2 weeks to get it to you or something like that, then it's like, well, I was 8 weeks out then, now I'm 6, and it's like people are just not going to care as much. So if you can get someone to do it quick, get on it, and yeah, then you're good. But
I'd say the other thing that's a little tough is finding somebody that allows your personality to come through. Like if they don't know you and they're just editing the video, like if you want your YouTube video to like hit people and like get them in the feelings, like you need somebody that knows you and is like gonna make it feel like your personality.
Yeah, I remember something I want to do is come over to America. I talk to Derek a bit, and sometimes on Olympia TV. I would love to do something like resurgence of like the Battle for the Olympia series, like travel around America. I would love to do something with them, and where I feel like I know what questions to ask guys. I know how to shoot video. I know how to edit video. I know how to do literally the whole process. If that was my dedicated thing to do, and I would thrive on that, and I would love it. So I would love for something like that the fans would love it as well. Because imagine if, you know that every week you're getting 2 videos a week or 3 videos a week or whatever of these guys that are prepping for Olympia, you're going to follow that so much. And maybe the top people out of the other divisions too, like the Miss Olympias and maybe the #1 contenders. Because when you think about it, there's 9 divisions. So you can film Sarah Villegas, Natalia Coelho in the women's physique. You can shoot Jeremy Buendia and Erin Banks in the physique. You can shoot C-Bum, Ramon Dino, and Auras in the classic. And then you've got all the open guys that I think at least one video of all of those guys, and you could make such a epic series of like 50 videos in the 100 days leading up to the Olympia, or 150 days leading in, or something like that. But man, that's something that I always think about, whether it's with like an Olympia TV or just through desktop. I would love to do that so much. But anyway, back to the question. Stu, you're obviously just getting into this. You're obviously probably launching into the whole being a content creator.
It's a gross shit.
Yeah, you should have like a bucket to vomit in or something. But yeah, it sounds horrible, like influencer, content creator, because we associate that with certain groups of people, and yeah. But anyway, you're just getting into that. So how do you feel about it? What's your biggest, I suppose, hurdle with it? All those sorts of things. What's your thoughts?
I mean, me personally, is like what I've always had a problem with is I find it weird that people would care what I do on a daily basis. Like, cause what I do, what Marty does, what Stan does, like, as pro bodybuilders, it's just totally mundane to us. It's like, yeah, we get out of bed and we make all our meals. It's like same shit every day, and I just find it so strange that people want to watch that, but they really want to watch that. And the part that they kind of want to watch it for is like Marty was talking about, like they want to see your personality, they want to see all the other interesting stuff you do, which I guess sometimes watching someone else's life is interesting in a weird kind of way, even if it's just background noise, But yeah, I have to get over that hurdle of like, it's kind of almost like imposter syndrome. It's like, I'm just a dude going about my day. Why the fuck do you want to watch? Why do you care? But they do, and so I'm gonna have to figure that out, like, mentally, and then I have to go and figure out all the hard parts about content creation. I haven't made it that far, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess.
Man, think about it this way, like, rewind the clock 5 years, whoever was like second at New York Pro, probably a pretty decent big name. Would you be interested in watching a video of them, just do these mundane things? It's like, yeah, you probably just sat there and watched it.
Dude. I watched that for hours.
Yeah, and you've got obviously a good personality and stuff and charisma, so it's like, then, yeah.
You know who does a really good job of it, actually, of like turning mundane, boring shit into like interesting stuff? Antoine Vaillant. I think his YouTube channel like gets way too few views because he's really funny. He's entertaining. He's got his own personality. It's obviously very different from any of ours, right? But like, he makes his personality shine through on his YouTube videos. I think he does all the editing himself, actually. And I've watched his stuff on and off for years because I know it's always going to be a hoot. And he's doing all the same stuff as we are, but he makes it fun. So,
but back in the day, Antoine used to be really, really big before he had a few drug issues and things like that. Like, early days, he was huge because he was one of the first guys into whether it was YouTube videos or whatever it was at the time. He was on MD a lot, like all of that sort of stuff. And I think sometimes YouTube is so, people research it so much now in terms of like, you've got to do a video, you got to grab people in the first 10 seconds. He might start a video off very normal, and then 2 minutes into it, his personality might start coming out. And by that time, like, when you actually watch videos on YouTube, when people actually get off your video, there's not that many people in comparison to at the very start, because you got 100% people watching. At the very end, it would be very rare to have 50% of people still watching to the very end. So there's people, I think there's a thing like the first 30 seconds they show you on YouTube when people actually, it shows like how it dips down. And it's like, I'm seeing now they show you like better than average, 5% more viewers than normal, above average. And then it shows like, it points to the video where it actually dips down. So people like study this, and maybe to the average person doing it, like Marty, you do those reels, and you say the first thing straight away. It's like, I don't know if that's you putting that input in or if that's the people doing it, but it's like 5 things, and then you go, oh, okay, I know what this video is about instantly.
I have a system that we have 100%, and like, if you don't do thumbnails, they don't do as good. Like, there's a million, bro. Like, I mean, we have pages of shit that we've studied, and like, okay, this reel does better than this one because of this, these and this. Like, I mean, even lighting is important, and like the background and shit, dude. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy how different things grab different people. And I've even done that a little bit in my videos now, because I'm like, I'd have like a 20-second outro in all my videos. I've like shortened that to 10 seconds now, because you get more people clicking off in that outro, less people are watching to the end of the video. It changes the algorithm for YouTube. So there's so many little tricks. But there's Stu, I'll send you there's a channel that I watch that have a lot of like useful little tips on all that sort of stuff. And sometimes it can get overwhelming, but as long as you put it out there and you just sort of think of the little tips that they give you along the way, like, oh yeah, this intro is like fucking 2 minutes long, that's too long. Just snappy, that's all people want, something that will grab their attention, and then you can roll into your content. But I already asked Stan, didn't I? Have I asked everyone?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll wrap it up there. But
I gotta get off of here. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been almost 2 hours. Sorry, guys. But Stu, how do people contact you? I know you're obviously getting into coaching and stuff now. Plug the Discord and all that. But is the Discord that you talk about, is that Muscle Discord that's on YouTube and stuff as well? Is that the same thing?
Totally.
Okay.
I have no idea who they are.
That got me confused during the week. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, so we have a bodybuilding Discord where we talk a bunch of shit and make fun of kids. It's called SRS Bodybuilding, and I'm sure there's a link in somewhere. I share it from time to time. You can find it.
I'll share the link in the description.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And then also, if you guys want to get in contact with me for coaching, I have a email address in my Instagram bio that you can email me at. I stopped doing... I mean, if you DM me on Instagram, I'll still respond to you. But like, I've been sending everybody the email because I can it's much more organized that way. So, yep, that's all for me.
Sweet. And your Instagram will be in the bio below, along with the other guys as well. What about you, Marty?
I got my coaching app. Obviously, plug Rise Supplements. They take great care of me. We have a bunch of shit coming too. It'll be really cool. We drop Country Time Lemonade pre-workout on Monday. But other than that, you guys already know YouTube, Instagram, all that fun stuff. DM me if you need me.
Do you say Country Time Lemonade?
Yeah, bro. We collabed with it.
What is Country Time?
It's a brand. It's an American brand.
It sounds very American. Sounds very Texas.
There's a lot of sugar in it.
I love it. And Stan, BSN?
Yeah, BSN trifecta. With all
Awesome.
your summer needs and food.
Beautiful. And me, just muscle tech, but everyone knows that by now anyway. But thank you guys so much for doing this once again. This has been Bodybuilding University, episode number 31. I don't know if I'll put this up in 2 parts or what I'll do, but I'll put out a clip to this with the Hassan stuff and maybe a bit of that first before the full episode comes out. But hope everyone enjoys it. And yeah, I didn't realize we went for so long. But anyway, thank you guys so much for doing it. So that's it for myself, Xavier Wills, Stuart, Beef Stu Sutherland, Martin, the Martian, Fitzwater, Stanimal, Stan DeLonge, and me, Xavier. But that's it for us. Xavier Wills and all these guys, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Bodybuilding University. If you did, there's a ton more episodes on Desktop Bodybuilding right now from the past. We've had guys like Nick Walker on. Obviously, weekly we have Brett Wilkin, Nathan Diasha, Martin Fitzwater, Stanimal, Stan DeLonge. Recently had Beef Stu, Stuart Sutherland on. And we have a whole ton more guests coming out for you guys as well. Sergio Oliva Jr., tons of names coming at you guys. Also, you get tons of bodybuilding news, all that good stuff. So make sure you like this video, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself here, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, and you won't miss out on another episode of Bodybuilding University. So that's it for this one, guys. Xavier Wills and all the guys at Bodybuilding University. This is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.